For the past 3 years, Ivvavik was the host of Great Northern Art Festival. Tonight you will be seeing different style of art displayed. And here too we'll be talking to some of the artists. And coordinator Sue Rose will be talking about why the festival got started. Welcome to Tamapta. I'm Leonard Harry.
Northern native arts and crafts were first brought to southern Canada and the rest of the world in the early and mid-1900s. Most of the exposure come from experienced artists in the Holman, Central, and Eastern Arctic areas. Until recently, the Western Arctic and Southern Mackenzie have had little exposure. For the past 3 years, the Great Northern Arts Festival has brought together artists from all over the NWT and Southern Canada to Ivvavik. Here, amateur and experienced artists share their skills. Sue Rose, along with Charlene Alexander, organized the festival.
We moved here almost 4 years ago. Before we moved here, my husband and I worked in Holman with the Holman Eskimo Cooperative. And we got quite used to being in an arts community. So many of the people were artists, carvers, some form of artworks going on. And so when we moved here, and I'm an artist myself, I began looking for the arts community in Ivvavik. And you know, I couldn't find very many people. And I began talking to Charlene about this. She became a friend of mine, and she also is an artist. She's a photographer. And we thought, well, what can we do that might help to foster the arts of the region? And that's really how the Arts Festival began.
For 10 days, the Ivvavik Corporate Center is filled with tourists and people from the surrounding regions. There, they can purchase or just look at the different styles displayed.
It really began as a regional arts festival. We were just thinking of the Western Arctic. Through some of the work that Janice Bailey has done with workshops with the artists in McPherson and Fort Good Hope, we started to make up a list of artists who might be interested in showing. Then when we approached the territorial government for funding, they encouraged us to make it a territorial event. And we decided to try, and through their department, economic development officers across the Canadian Arctic, they recommended individuals to us. And we contacted them, and away we went. Yeah. One of the reasons we started the festival was not only to help artists to gain new skills, but to promote their work. And we spent quite a bit of money on advertising to advertise the event. And that was part of the reason for the starting of the festival, especially, again, for this Western Arctic area, or I should say Ivvavik region area, and down in the river communities, because there's been very little promotion of these artists.
For many artists, this is their main source of income, and for some, a hobby. Whatever medium, stone, ivory, duffel, or paints, this festival gives each individual a chance to show their best.
The diversity of the artwork in the festival is so broad because we don't turn away anyone. We try not to. We leave it open. Some shows that you go to, you have to send slides of your work and then you're accepted or you're not. And we don't like to turn anyone away because it's a festival for all artists who are either they're student artists or they're very experienced artists, young or old. We have kids from the high school showing their work here right up to people who've been exhibiting their work for 20 years. And that's why you'll see really a diversity. And a diversity of medium, because you'll have people who are doing printmaking and drawing and painting and all sorts of different things that they use to create the artwork. And then you've got people right from, well, this year Alaska, right over to Baffin Island. So Yes, it's a great diversity of people, and we really like to see that diversity in the room.
During the 1990 Arts Festival, Sam Bullock, who is from this region, displayed his art for the first time.
I do the muskox, and the other type of carving that I do is these stylized snow geese coming to land at a nest site. Normally they would be carved from the lower part of the moose antler, where the moose antler gets quite thick towards the base. So I can get a really good thick section to work on, and from there the bird is carved to take this kind of shape. The other material that is used in the carving is where the antler comes to the base of the caribou skull here. I would cut the antler off, and if you turn it on its side here, cut all this material off, and then start hollowing out the middle of this to put eggs in. And the eggs again are made from just the very pointed tips of the caribou antler where it's solid there.
Peter Reggie, originally from Cape Dorset in the east, sketches his culture on paper different from the three-dimensional art Sam does.
I work with a pen. Started with the pen first. After when I finish the line, when I finish it, I just start coloring with only one pencil with this. That's the only two things I only work with those sometimes. But when I do colors, I could do colors too. But I didn't, no chance to, I didn't do anything colors around here. But I just do black and white. I learned from the elder people when they taught me how to become if I grew up. I was thinking of when I grew up, what am I going to living on it? So there's a lot of people, carvers and drawings from where I come from my hometown in Cape Dorset. It's my most popular carvers in Baffin. So ever since a lot of people, carvers and artists, and ever since we keep it up, and we don't want to lose our nations the way we do. So I just love it the way when they got nothing to do, like there's no holiday jobs in town, so we just keep carve and draw to make money. And nowadays, that's the way we're living in. I'm proud of the way we become an artist and carver. I didn't expect when I was a kid to do this and all that.
Unlike the two younger fellows, Mariana Okbalakjuk is an experienced, well-known artist. His stone creations come from stories told to him by his parents.
Kaya nagul ilin niya laktika. Tagboon ilin niya kaya tulang man. Una, ukiyokalong mi maulik pala ako, sikwalong mi ukiyokalong mi. Natin aglokak sutik. Siya ni takok siya nga lukit o mga pilariyaw wala mata. Aglo na kangan siya na yakak sunin. Una okto tingwang o tagba sikup ilo ani natio aglo. Okto tingwang o yo. Tag umungan na kisiani.
Sana kanok tayo baksa.
Tag butaw mi atak taw yok tamna. Tag butaw ko na. Tag ba aglo umunga kawli saksugo. Kawli saksugo una kay bitio saksugo kitian una sangot talwang sun aktual talagangan. Man aktualok talagangan. Kitiago tiaksugo, tagba, pianikangan. Ukwa iliok kalaksugit. Takwata nang magtamig at kakaktur.
So namigdisa na si magalaw ko ng ngakten.
Nagdungin maka kaluna kakaktur atuk tao yung binyugalit ubang ang ngilwa tsaka inutukaw ngilwa kama. Kisa nili kayong mig atulik tilig ang mutilaw kama. Inyolilaw kama. Amma tukto sibuli nga tasaw niya ni amma kakakpalaw to galing ubang at ang miya katakulak sa mayakalwa katamakwa. Kisa nili haga kalak tilig inyolilaw kama. Tagbatak ko na magtag iliyaw batag balo una iliyaw mo amma una nikpala kami ag lumitag ba uka ila ko mata kaya makibiyo tak ili si mayaya kakaya law to atok takapitakangin mauwan tuwari lo kaya kalilaw kama sanang wagag ka nung utawal yan sa lilupilaw mata tuwari lo kaya kalilaw kama kaya katalo kibiyo tak lupitakangin mata ang matutiriak pitakangit sa niuwan at uktaw yung. Tagbanik palik po inuktaan na kibiyot tiksyon eh. Kaya na, ting miyamek kukulo ato at tumakikulok. Surunuyak to silitigiyo. Iliyaw si matlunay. Kaya nalunay ko takayaw ni aksyon eh.
Namon iliyaw si
Ubong ha, ubong ako, ang mayukulong mo ubong.
Ang mayuri kayo mo tayo.
Ang mayo kakayo mo taas mo iliyaw si mayagari. Kaya uwan atang tuman. Kasi uwan api ko nakakalak sa mga may tumangan ang una hiutigiyam ni. Kaya malingat tukisak sa lang gusto ni. Kaya nuna aglumungaw le potag mo siku atano. Siku atano ato man imak kaya maawala le po uwan aglukon. Kaya na mikukulu ka sa kawala ka, imang may awla yung may malitiyak to. Malitiyak to. Tagba malitiyak kami, no kaktuya ka dalaw suni. Supiyaw si kami, natutusak sa orang suni, anong ningalo natutusak sa orang suni. Supiyaw si kami, sayok tukulo yasi, matay manatong nuwi kasi buktayan. Kaya malitaas suma, unani, siguro kami gid. Kaya si mga mekukulong mo tukisigan. Kaya mali uwon ang mayukulukul. Tao itong ikalawak sa mikapigare ang narikpa. Kaya makapigan niyo tayo natsaksakilik para dyan.
For 30 years, Lyle Trimble made the Western Arctic his home. He now lives in BC with his wife Mary. Mary is originally from Ivvavik. Now that their children are all grown, in their free time, they have discovered the gift of sculpting and painting. Their first display of work bring out their memories of life in the Inuvik region.
I suppose the one thing in common with us is that we know the North, and the North is a very meaningful part of our life. Certainly, for those who are still living here, it's part of their life, and for of course most of the people, it's also part of their culture for many generations. But even for people such as myself, after having been here for 30 years, which is the greatest part of my life, this is what I know. And although I decided that before I got too old to do something else, that I would move to a warmer environment and not endure the cold, long winters that we have here anymore. Still, I don't think it's possible to get the North out of your system.
Fred, son of Lyle and Mary, also loves to work in art. He uses his Ivvavik name Ayak on his finished products.
I got started carving by my father. He brought a piece of antler and just said try it, so just for the fun of it, I tried it and sold it. So after you sell your first carving, you just keep going. Every carving when you start, it's never comes out the same when it's finished. I see the picture of the finished piece before I start, and it's always different. Because the rock, you're always finding flaws in it. When I left to stay in Nanaimo, I figured I have to go there to get established in these other galleries. I'm finding now, with this festival and Yellowknife, 75% of my work comes back to the north.
Rex Goose is another up-and-coming artist. He comes from Holman. He feels the art festival has helped improve his work.
Basically, I think it's a very good in terms of people viewing my work and the type of work that I produce. I think it's very good for my exposure and especially for absorbing all this artwork into my imagination as I produce, as I get to look at what's being produced throughout the north.
The shamanism, is that like a sort of like a something that you're into, or something you like to?
It's something I like to produce because it's nothing like just carving just a walrus and a bear or just a man and a walrus, because work like that just become too regular. It's too much of that being produced. Nothing with very almost like an abstract form to it. Very modern, but still have a traditional value to it.
Bringing in 60 artists, setting up workshops, worrying about food and accommodations begins shortly after one festival is over. Funding and preparations is a year-round project.
Funding for the Arts Festival from the territorial government and the federal government goes mostly toward travel, expenses of bringing the artists in, and somewhat for advertising. Other than that, the proceeds from the sales of the works, 30%, the festival takes a 30% commission on sales, and that's really the only fee that artists have to pay. There's no charge for exhibition or for travel or accommodation. But if they sell their work, then the festival takes 30%. And that money, along with money from sales of T-shirts and buttons and pins and the raffle, that money goes toward all of the exhibition costs, like to have mats cut for the drawings, and also supplies for the workshops, and more toward advertising, because that costs quite a bit. And when there's money left over, it goes toward the cost of next year, because we must begin on the advertising for next year's event in October. So knowing that we won't get any government funding before spring, it's good for us to have that money from this year to go start again for next year.
And what do the artists think of the festival?
This art festival this year and last year was fantastic. They got a lot of people through. It's not only the sales, but meeting the different artists. Before the festival last year, myself, I only knew one or two carvers from the Eastern Arctic, and with these two combined shows now, you know all of them. I mean, not all of them, but all the ones that came to the festival. And for 10 days here, you get to be pretty close with them.
I feel like with the people they like, they just ask me. And here in the festival, I had about 7 or 8 people back me to do some work with them. I got no time at all, so it's getting close up this place. So when I get home, I'm going to do this to them. All right.
Some are on the north slope, and once again the land is full of life. From out of their burrows come the ground squirrels. From their southern wintering grounds come the ducks, geese, and other migratory birds. Then come the caribou that give birth to their calves along the coast. People from Ivvavik and Inuvik arrive at summer camps along the coast of the Arctic Ocean. For them, the next few months will be filled with activity. It is a time to enjoy life. There will be seals and whales to hunt, fish to catch, caribou, birds, a time of plenty without the pressures of town life. Survival was not always easy for the people who lived along the north slope of what is now the Yukon Territory, but they thrived by living in time with the rhythms of the land. This intense relationship continues. The Canadian Park Service will help sustain that relationship into the future. For part of the land that the Ivvavik call home has become Northern Yukon National Park, and we are about to map out its future. Go north and go west, about as far north and as far west as you can go on mainland Canada, and you will find Northern Yukon National Park. This park on the Yukon North Slope, bordering Alaska and facing the Beaufort Sea, is over 10,000 square kilometers of wilderness. You will find mountains untouched by the last round of glaciation and unique landscapes supporting both boreal and Arctic plants and animals. The park is the only place in Canada where you could find black, grizzly, and polar bears. Dall's sheep live on the mountains, moose in the valleys, and muskoxen on the tundra plain. The park also protects part of the calving grounds of the 190,000 barren ground caribou that make up the porcupine herd. Eritchier, an isolated hill overlooking the Firth River coastal plain, is considered to be one of the most important archaeological resources in the Western Arctic. Studies of it show that this land has been occupied for 5,000 years by 9 different cultures, including all known Inuit cultures. Northern Yukon National Park protects for all time a natural area of Canadian significance. The Canadian Park Service will encourage public understanding, appreciation, and enjoyment of the park and its natural and cultural heritage in ways that leave it unchanged for future generations. The park is the first to be created as a result of the settlement of a comprehensive native land claim. In 1984, the Government of Canada and the Ivvavik of the Western Arctic signed a land claim known as the Ivvavik Final Agreement. The Northern Yukon National Park was created as a result of that working partnership. The Canadian Park Service hopes to build on that partnership as we start to prepare a management plan for the park. A management plan is a guide to the protection, visitor use, management, and operation of the park and its resources. A kind of instruction manual on how to run a park. Management planning can be divided into the following steps. The first step is gathering information, with public participation playing a key role. From this information, we identify issues, leading to the preparation of a draft management plan. The public will be invited to review any plan alternatives and the draft plan. The Ivvavik Final Agreement adds one further step to the Northern Yukon planning program. The final management plan must be acceptable to the North Slope Wildlife Management Advisory Council. The council must recommend the plan to the Federal Minister of the Environment. The final step is taken when the minister approves the plan and tables it in Parliament. Public participation is a very important part of the management planning process. We will use open houses, newsletters, and videos like this one to find out what Canadians think about how the park should be managed. We will ask Ivvavik, other Native groups, government departments, and special interest groups to participate. To get involved, have your name put on our mailing list. Watch for meeting notices and come to our meetings. Send in a formal brief or any comments you might have. We value your thoughts and ideas. From information already collected about the park, some planning issues have been identified. Some of them are: where should aircraft landings be allowed? Should existing airstrips be maintained, improved, or dismantled? The Dew Line station at Qumakak Beach will be closed down soon. How can we commemorate the historic value of this site? How should the park get involved in caribou management? What should we encourage visitors to do? Many visitors raft down the Firth River. Other activities like hiking in the mountains or on the coastal plain and rafting or canoeing on the other rivers could be encouraged as well. Should any facilities be built for these activities? What facilities should be built to enable park staff to manage the park? The Canadian Park Service Management Planning Team will see that the issues will be resolved to the benefit of the park. The team cannot do this alone. A planning advisory committee has been formed. The committee has members appointed by the Ivvavik Game Council and the Canadian Park Service. The Management Planning Team and the Planning Advisory Committee will work together, each providing expert input and guidance to the planning process. They will be challenged to develop solutions to the planning issues, solutions that will preserve the natural and cultural heritage of the park and protect traditional Ivvavik activities. As well, the extensive public participation program will tie into both the planning team and the advisory committee. Over the coming months, we will be sending newsletters and arranging public meetings. Now is the time to make your views known. Get involved, and in a shared spirit of cooperation, we can develop the best possible plan for managing the valuable resources of Northern Yukon National Park. There is a cold edge to the wind. The short summer season is coming to an end. Looking out over the coastal plain from atop the outcrop called Héritière, the last groups of caribou can be seen on their way south. They will pass close by on their way to the mountains. It is time to harvest meat for the winter. A good hunter knows that he must look ahead and plan for the future. For more information, contact Tim Krause, Northern Yukon Public Participation, Canadian Park Service, 457 Main Street, Winnipeg, Manitoba, R3B 3E8. Phone area code 204-983-2918 collect. You may also fax to area code 204-983-2014. In northern communities, contact the local Hunters and Trappers Committee or Association.